The ultimatum in the morning started like any other Tuesday on Earth. Coffee shops opened their doors, children walked to school, and office workers complained about traffic. Nobody expected their world to change forever at exactly 9:47 a.m. Eastern Time. Commander Zeth Corvanis stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Fist, watching the blue-green planet grow larger on his screens. His metallic gray skin reflected the cold light of the bridge displays, and his forearms moved with practiced efficiency across the control panels. The Catherian Empire had conquered 847 worlds in the past millennium. Earth would be number 848. The massive fleet that followed his flagship stretched across space like a dark cloud. 200 vessels of various sizes, from nimble destroyers to planet-cracking dreadnoughts. Each ship carried the symbol of the Empire, a closed fist grasping a star. The meaning was clear to any species that saw it. Submit or be crushed. President Maria Santos was reviewing budget reports when her chief of staff burst into the Oval Office. David Walsh's face was pale, and his hands trembled as he handed her a secure tablet. The satellite feeds showed impossible images. Alien ships, hundreds of them, taking position around Earth like predators, surrounding wounded prey. "How long do we have?" Santos asked, her voice steady despite the fear growing in her chest. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Madam President." "The message is ... demanding." Santos activated the main communication system and listened to the translated alien voice. It was cold and mechanical, like a judge reading a death sentence. "Primitive inhabitants of the planet you call Earth. I am Commander Zeth Corvanis of the Catherian Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our tribute system. You have 48 standard hours to comply with our demands." The demands were simple but devastating. 50% of Earth's population would be relocated to work camps on distant worlds. All military technology would be surrendered immediately. The planet would provide regular shipments of rare metals, food, and manufactured goods. Resistance would result in complete planetary sterilization. Dr. James Chun had spent his entire career studying theoretical alien civilizations at the SETI Institute. Now, faced with real aliens who wanted to enslave humanity, he wished he had chosen a different profession. His team worked frantically in the underground facility beneath Cheyenne Mountain, analyzing every piece of data their sensors could gather about the alien fleet. "Their ships are running on some kind of antimatter propulsion," Chun reported to the emergency session of the United Earth Council. "Energy readings are off the charts, but there's something interesting about their shield configurations." General Patricia Williams leaned forward in her chair. As head of Earth's Planetary Defense Command, she had spent 20 years preparing for this exact scenario. Most people thought she was paranoid. Today, her paranoia might save humanity. What kind of interesting, Doctor? "Their shields are designed to deflect energy weapons and absorb kinetic impacts from conventional projectiles. But they seem to have blind spots in their defensive matrix, almost like they've never faced certain types of attacks before." Williams nodded grimly. The aliens might have superior technology, but they had never fought humans. That inexperience could be the edge Earth needed. Captain Alex Rodriguez commanded the stealth reconnaissance vessel, Ghostwalker, currently hidden in the shadow of Europa. His ship was one of 12 identical vessels that officially didn't exist. Built in secret using technology adapted from experimental programs, they were humanity's eyes and ears in the darkness of space. "Captain, we're picking up alien communication chatter," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim, his communications officer. "Their tactical frequencies are unencrypted. They're not even trying to hide their plans." Rodriguez smiled grimly. Arrogance was a weakness they could exploit, that the alien communications revealed disturbing information. This wasn't the Empire's first visit to Earth. They had been watching humanity for decades, studying their technology and military capabilities. The Catherians considered humans to be nothing more than clever animals, barely worth the effort of conquest. President Santos called an emergency meeting with world leaders via secure quantum links. The faces on her screen showed a mixture of fear, anger, and determination. Prime Minister Chun Wei of the Pacific Federation spoke first. The alien terms are unacceptable. We cannot sacrifice half our population to save the other half. But can we fight them? Asked Chancellor Eva Petrov of the European Union. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. General Williams answered that question with cold military precision. We've run the simulations. In a direct confrontation, they would destroy us in hours. But humans have never fought fair when survival was at stake. Santos looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. She saw the same expression on all of them that she felt in her own heart. Fear mixed with stubborn defiance. Humans had never bowed to tyrants, and they wouldn't start now. Draft a response to their ultimatum, Santos ordered. Tell them their terms are rejected. Earth does not surrender. The message was broadcast on the same frequencies the aliens had used. President Santos's voice carried across space with calm authority. Commander Corvanis, your demands are rejected. Humanity will not submit to slavery under any circumstances. You have 48 hours to leave our solar system. This is our only warning. The alien response came within minutes. Corvanis's voice carried a tone of surprised amusement. Your defiance is noted, humans. Perhaps a demonstration is needed to clarify your position. The demonstration came in the form of 3 massive energy beams that reached out from the alien fleet toward Earth. The target was a large asteroid that had been designated for future mining operations. The beams struck the space rock and vaporized it in seconds, turning solid stone into glowing plasma. That was a Class 5 planetoid, Corvanis broadcast. Your world will suffer the same fate if you continue this foolish resistance. Asterisk. President Santos watched the destruction on her screens and felt her resolve harden like steel. The aliens had made a critical error. They thought showing their power would frighten humanity into submission. Instead, they had just shown Earth's defenders exactly what they were fighting to prevent. General Williams, you are authorized to implement Protocol Omega. Williams had hoped she would never hear those words. Protocol Omega was Earth's last resort, a plan so dangerous that even thinking about it kept her awake at night. But faced with extinction, desperate measures were the only option left. Hidden facilities across Earth came online for the first time. Weapons that had been built in secret, using budgets buried so deep that most governments didn't know they existed. Railguns that could accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds. Particle beam weapons adapted from fusion research. Most importantly, the network of automated defense satellites that had been disguised as communications relays for the past decade. Captain Rodriguez received new orders that made his crew exchange worried glances. They were to approach the alien fleet using their stealth systems and gather detailed tactical information. The mission had a 90% casualty projection, but the data they collected could mean the difference between victory and extinction. The Ghost Walker slipped through space, like its name suggested, invisible to alien sensors that had been designed to detect much larger targets. Rodriguez brought his ship to within a few thousand kilometers of the alien formation before beginning his scans. What they discovered changed everything. Captain, you need to see this, Lieutenant Kim called out. Their shields have a rotation frequency. They're not constant barriers. There are windows of vulnerability that last about 3 seconds every minute. Rodriguez studied the tactical display with growing excitement. The aliens had built their defenses to counter threats they understood. Human weapons fell outside their experience, which meant Earth's defenders might have a chance after all. Asterisk. The first shots of the war came from Earth's hidden defense network. Satellites that had pretended to be civilian communication relays suddenly revealed their true nature. Railguns fired tungsten projectiles accelerated to 15% of light speed. Particle beams lanced out toward alien vessels with surgical precision. Commander Corvanis felt his flagship shudder as something impossible happened. Human weapons were penetrating his shields and causing actual damage to his hull. Alarms screamed throughout the ship as his tactical officers reported casualties that shouldn't have been possible. How are they achieving such weapon velocities? Corvanes demanded that his science officer check the readings twice before answering. Unknown, Commander. Our intelligence indicated their technology was primitive. These weapons shouldn't exist. The human attack lasted exactly 30 seconds. When it ended, 12 alien vessels had suffered critical damage, and 3 were completely destroyed. The Empire's formation scattered as commanders tried to understand what had just happened. Asterisk. General Williams watched the battle reports with grim satisfaction. Earth had drawn first blood, but she knew the aliens would adapt quickly. The next phase of the battle would determine whether humanity survived the night. Captain Rodriguez guided his ship back toward Earth as alien reinforcements began arriving from deeper in the solar system. His mission was complete, but the real war was just beginning. The data his team had gathered would give Earth's defenders the tactical advantage they needed. As the first day of humanity's greatest war came to an end, President Santos addressed the world from the White House bunker. Her words would be remembered for generations. My fellow humans, we face extinction tonight, but we do not face it alone, and we do not face it defenseless. For the first time in our history, all of humanity stands united against a common threat. We have shown these aliens that Earth's children do not kneel to tyrants. Tomorrow, we will show them what happens to those who threaten our world. The alien fleet regrouped in orbit around Mars, licking wounds they hadn't expected to receive. Commander Corvanis sent an urgent message to Empire headquarters. The conquest of Earth would require more than a tribute fleet. It would require the full might of the Imperial Armada. Humanity had one day to prepare for the storm that was coming. Asterisk. The storm unleashed high. Admiral Vex Thalarian received the emergency transmission while his battle fleet was stationed 3 star systems away from Earth. The message from Commander Corvanis made no sense to him. A primitive world had damaged Imperial vessels and forced a tribute fleet to retreat. Such a thing had never happened in the Empire's 1,000-year history. Thalarian commanded the largest military force the Empire had assembled in 50 years. 500 ships of war, ranging from fast attack corvettes to massive fortress dreadnoughts that could shatter moons. His orders from the Imperial High Council were simple. End the human rebellion and make an example that would discourage other worlds from getting similar ideas. Engineer Sarah. Kim worked without sleep in her laboratory beneath the Sahara Desert. Her team had 36 hours to turn the weapons that had bloodied the alien nose into something that could break their jaw. The captured alien technology from damaged ships provided the breakthrough they needed. The aliens use a modular shield system, Kim explained to the emergency council session. Each generator creates a specific type of barrier. Energy shields, kinetic barriers, radiation deflectors. But they don't overlap properly. If we can hit them with multiple weapon types simultaneously, we can create cascade failures in their defensive matrix. General Williams reviewed the tactical projections with growing concern. Even with their new knowledge, Earth's forces were outnumbered by more than 10 to 1. The coming battle would require every advantage they could create, and several they would have to invent on the spot. Pilot Michael Torres led the first squadron of Earth's new fighter craft into the void between Mars and Earth. The ships looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. Sleek, angular, and built for one purpose: getting close enough to alien vessels to deliver weapons that no sane military would ever put on a fighter. Phoenix Squadron. This is Phoenix Lead, Torres broadcast to his wing. Remember, we only get one shot at this. Make it count. The fighters carried nuclear mines designed to detonate inside alien shield perimeters. It was a suicide mission with a technical loophole. If everything went perfectly, they might survive. If anything went wrong, they would become very brief stars in the darkness. Intelligence Officer Lisa Park sat in a room filled with quantum computers that had been repurposed for a single task: breaking alien encryption and communication protocols. Her team had managed to crack enough of their language to understand tactical communications. What they learned made her blood run cold. The aliens weren't just coming to conquer Earth. They planned to harvest humanity's genetic material for their slave breeding programs. Earth would become a factory for producing workers, soldiers, and worse. The Empire saw humans not as people, but as resources to be exploited. Dr. Chun made a discovery that changed everything about humanity's understanding of their enemy. The alien empire wasn't a single species. It was a collection of conquered races, all serving masters who had enslaved them centuries or millennia ago. The Cytherians were just another subject species, elevated to positions of authority as long as they served their true rulers. The real enemy is something called the hegemony, Chun reported to President Santos. The Cytherians are just their attack dogs. But every species in their empire was conquered using the same basic strategy: overwhelming force, followed by selective breeding and cultural destruction. Santos studied the intelligence reports with growing understanding. The Empire had perfected the art of breaking species' will to resist. They had faced rebels before, but never anything like humanity. The Imperial Armada arrived in Earth's solar system like a plague of locusts. Ships filled the space between planets, their weapon systems charging as they prepared to demonstrate the price of defiance. High Admiral Thalarian took personal command of the assault, determined to end this rebellion quickly and brutally. Captain Rodriguez led a strike force of stealth ships toward the alien command vessel. Their mission was simple in concept and nearly impossible in execution. Get close enough to the alien flagship to deliver a very special package that Sarah Kim's team had prepared. The package was a computer virus written in machine code that had been reverse engineered from captured alien systems. If they could inject it into the enemy network, it would create chaos in their command structure at the worst possible moment. The battle began when alien scouts detected Earth's orbital defense platforms. Energy beams reached out across space, expecting to vaporize primitive human constructs. Instead, they met shields that absorbed their power and redirected it into weapon systems that fired back with interest. General Williams coordinated the defense from her command bunker while watching displays that showed the largest space battle in human history. Every weapon Earth had ever built was firing at targets that moved like angry gods through the void. Michael Torres led his fighter squadron through the chaos of the main battle, dodging energy beams that could vaporize his ship in microseconds. His target was an alien carrier that was launching its own fighter craft. The nuclear mines his squadron carried would either cripple the enemy or create the largest firework. Display in solar system history. Phoenix Squadron. Target acquired. Beginning attack run. The human fighters moved like angry wasps through the alien formation. Their small size and erratic flight patterns made them difficult targets for weapons designed to fight larger vessels. One by one, they delivered their deadly cargo to vulnerable points on alien ships. Engineer Kim watched her modified railguns tear through alien defenses like paper. The weapons fired projectiles that changed their composition during flight. Hard tungsten cores for penetrating shields, followed by explosive payloads that detonated inside enemy hulls. The aliens had never seen weapons that could adapt during flight. High Admiral Thalarian felt his formation begin to collapse as human tactics tore through his careful battle plans. These primitives fought like nothing he had ever encountered. They used nuclear weapons like conventional explosives. They turned their own fighters into guided missiles. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to enjoy the chaos they were creating. Lisa Park's team achieved their breakthrough when Rodriguez's strike force successfully infected the alien command network. False orders began flooding hegemony communication systems. Ships received contradictory commands from multiple sources. Navigation data was corrupted, causing vessels to nearly collide with each other. Asterisk, the virus did more than create confusion. It began downloading the Empire's entire military database, revealing the locations of conquered worlds, supply routes, and most importantly, the identity of their true masters. Dr. Chan watched the downloaded information with growing excitement and horror. The hegemony was vulnerable in ways they had never realized. Their empire was held together by fear and communication networks that could be compromised. But they also commanded resources that made the current battle look like a minor skirmish. President Santos made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Instead of simply defending Earth, humanity would carry the fight to their enemies. The message she broadcast on captured alien frequencies was simple and terrifying. This is President Maria Santos of the United Earth Government. Your empire ends today. Every world you have conquered will know that freedom is possible. Every slave species will learn that tyrants can be defeated. Run while you still can. Asterisk. The turning point came when Sarah Kim's weapons achieved something that shouldn't have been possible. They began turning alien ships against each other. Captured vessels, their crews replaced by human marines, opened fire on their former comrades. The sight of Imperial ships destroying each other broke the morale of the alien fleet. Captain Torres led the final assault on Valerian's flagship. His fighter squadron had been reduced to 6 ships, but they carried the deadliest weapons humanity had ever created. Antimatter warheads that would either end the battle or sterilize everything within 1,000 kilometers. The human fighters penetrated the alien ship's defenses through a combination of skill, luck, and absolute determination. The antimatter weapons detonated inside the flagship's reactor core, creating a brief artificial star that consumed the pride of the Imperial fleet. High Admiral Valerian died without understanding what had defeated him. His last thought was confusion at how primitive savages had managed to destroy the most advanced military force in known space. The battle raged for 18 hours before the surviving alien ships began retreating toward the edge of the solar system. They left behind a debris field that would orbit the sun for centuries, and a message that spread throughout the galaxy at light speed. Earth had not only survived the Empire's assault, they had destroyed it. General Williams received damage reports that painted a picture of victory achieved at terrible cost. Earth had lost 40% of its orbital infrastructure and 2 million people in the fighting. But they had sent a message to the galaxy that would never be forgotten. The surviving hegemony forces transmitted a simple message before jumping to faster than light speeds and fleeing the solar system. It was a single word in the ancient tongue of their species: Stormbringers. President Santos addressed not just Earth, but every enslaved world in the galaxy. The quantum communication network captured from alien ships carried her words to species that had forgotten what freedom looked like. My fellow beings, Earth stands free today because we refuse to accept slavery. The empire that has oppressed your worlds for centuries can be defeated. Their ships burn in our system. Their admirals are dead. The storm has begun, and it will not end until every slave is free. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Rebellions erupted on dozens of worlds as enslaved species took inspiration from humanity's victory. The 1,000-year-old empire began cracking like ice in spring sunlight. Dr. Chan established contact with refugee populations fleeing imperial space. The stories they told painted a picture of an empire in collapse. Entire sectors were in open rebellion. Trade routes had been severed. The hegemony's iron grip was loosening for the first time in a millennium. Engineer Kim began designing the ships that would carry Earth's message of freedom to the stars. Human technology, enhanced with captured alien systems, would give the rebellious worlds the weapons they needed to win their freedom. 6 months after the battle, Earth had become the unofficial capital of the Free Worlds Alliance. Species that had suffered under imperial rule sent ambassadors to the small blue planet that had shown them how to fight back. President Santos stood in the United Nations building, now expanded to house representatives from 47 different worlds. The Galactic Liberation Front had been born from humanity's refusal to kneel, and it would not rest until every tyrant in the galaxy had been overthrown. The Empire still existed, but it was a shadow of its former self. The hegemony's true masters had retreated to their core worlds, abandoning frontier territories that had become too expensive to hold. They no longer sent tribute fleets to primitive worlds. They had learned to fear the storms that such actions might unleash. Captain Rodriguez, now Admiral Rodriguez, led the Earth Defense Fleet on patrol missions throughout human space. His ships carried a simple message painted on their hulls. Earth remembers. It was both a promise to their allies and a warning to their enemies. The galaxy had learned a new word. Human. It meant stubborn defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. It meant choosing to fight impossible battles rather than accept slavery. Most of all, it meant that some storms, once unleashed, would never stop until the sky was clear. Earth's children had taken their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as liberators. The age of empire was ending, and the age of freedom had begun. And in the depths of space, on worlds that had known nothing but slavery for generations, a new generation was being born. They would grow up knowing that somewhere in the galaxy, there was a small blue world whose people had looked at impossible odds and said, "Not today." The storm humanity had unleashed would echo through the cosmos for millennia. And it all began with a simple message sent to alien overlords who thought they could demand submission from Earth. Run while you still can. They should have listened. Asterisk.